Well, the hearing in that case, the movie makers have gone to the Supreme Court and challenged the ban that has been imposed by the West Bengal government. And that hearing has begun at the Supreme Court of India. The Chief Justice of India-led bench is hearing this case. Let's see what happens. Is there any interim order or interim relief which is granted to the petitioners in the case? Usually, well, the pattern is that a notice is given to the government concerned, in this case the West Bengal government. You have Mr. Harish Salve, the senior advocate, appearing in the matter, and he's argued that movie has been banned in one state and there is a de facto ban in another. He goes on to say that the speech by the Chief Minister as well. The court has said that they'll issue a notice to the West Bengal government. So as I said, the obvious in petitions like these is that a response from the state government will be sought, and if the state government is able to clarify the reasons as to why they decided to ban the movie, and the court is in agreement with those points, only then a ban of this nature can stay. The court has asked this question, that why should the West Bengal government ban this movie, and the West Bengal government will now come forward and file an official response. Kamalika, very briefly from you, what are the reasons that the West Bengal government has stated in the public domain so far?
Well, the West Bengal government was very clear banning this film. Mamata Banerjee has directed that time to the Chief Secretary, stating, and the statement which came up from the West Bengal government, that surely this film has certain content which might create law and order disturbance in the state. Now, that is what the input that the government had, and that is why this film, Kerala Story, has been banned in Bengal after 3 days of its release. So clearly what Mamata Banerjee and the government is putting forward, that there is a chance of violence, there is a chance of unrest in Bengal, and that's why this film has been banned out here. Now, obviously, on the other hand, the BJP has raised the question of freedom and speech and expression. Well, if you see that Bengal already had a riot after, regarding this Ram Navami, after the Ram Navami rallies in both the places in Howrah and Risha. So it was a precautionary measure that the government took. That's what the government version is.
That's what the government version is, yeah. And let's see if that version really sticks with the court. Now, what are the parameters on which the court is going to test the response coming in from any government? Well, public order is one exception to freedom of expression in this country, Article 19, Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. But the benchmark or the test that has been set by the Supreme Court is very high. A mere incident of apprehended violence or a possibility of violence is not enough. There must be credible evidence or, credible information before any government or authority when they take this action that violence can be a probable outcome if a certain art piece, cinema, speech, movie is put out in the public domain. Did the West Bengal government have those kind of credible proof and information before them? Only a court can adjudicate. As Kamalika was pointing out, what the state government and the chief minister so far has said is that there were real apprehensions that there could be tensions on the ground, considering the fact that the state had recently witnessed some kind of riots, communal tensions. They decided that it's in the best interest and welfare of the people to ban the movie. The makers of the movie argue that across the country this movie has been released, and this is a movie, it's a piece of cinema. Everybody should be allowed to watch because CBFC has cleared the movie. And legally speaking, the West Bengal government does not have a right to ban the movie in this nature. The final authority, the final word, of course, we'll only know when the Supreme Court decides something, so all eyes on that. The hearing is underway right now at the Supreme Court of India, where the Chief Justice-led bench is actually deciding whether to continue, in what way can a relief be granted to the filmmakers or not. Now, those are the details coming in from the Supreme Court. We have Mr. Harish Salve, who's appearing in the matter, and he's appearing for the petitioners, for the filmmakers. The hearing has begun. He argued that the movie has banned in one state, and there's also the talk of the state of Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu did not come out with an official notification banning the movie. However, the multiplex owners in some way apprehending violence, and there was some indirect communication to them that they had to pull down the movie, which is a de facto or a shadow ban, as the makers are arguing. Let me quickly check if Kamalika is still with us on the broadcast. Kamalika, talking about the political storm it has created, what is it that the BJP has been saying, and how have they criticized the government as far as this issue is concerned?
Well, there is a huge criticism by BJP. BJP has put forward the question of freedom of speech and expression. Not only in BJP, there are certain intellectual fraternities also in Bengal who have raised this question that, whether the content of the film is to be supported or not. but there should not be any banning because they are putting forward the theory of freedom and speech and expression. And more so the point which is raised by BJP is that the film got released on last Friday and there were like 4 days it ran and there was no problem in the law and order in the state. Then why after suddenly in the middle of the week the film was banned? So in one side it's BJP who is raising questions on the freedom of speech and expression. If we go back to Bengal's history, there's this book written by Taslima Nasreen called Vikhandita. That book was also banned by the left-hand government. But, directly such a ban of any film, there are at times when there were contents of the films which were not liked by the rulers. In some of the halls, those were pulled down, though there are examples of such films. But directly banning the film has not happened.
Okay.
Banning of book has taken place in Bengal. So clearly, as far as BJP is concerned, they are saying that Mamata Banerjee is trying to appease a section of a community, a section of voters. So that is what the BJP point is. But
Kamalika, please stay with us on the broadcast. I'm just going to reiterate what has happened at the Supreme Court so far. The hearing is underway. The Chief Justice of India has said that the film has been exhibited in the rest of the country and reasonably there isn't any ground for it to be banned. That's an oral observation that has come, not an order. I believe Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi is appearing for the West Bengal government, and he is also very keen that before the court decides, if at all it decides to give any kind of relief, the state government must be heard. And the Chief Justice has also assured Mr. Singhvi that without hearing West Bengal, they are not going to pass any kind of orders. With West Bengal, there is also the state of Tamil Nadu. As I've argued, Mr. Harish Salve has raised this point before the court. And the Lordships in an earlier order asked others to approach the High Court. There is no reason why they can't approach there. So the argument of the West Bengal government is that Supreme Court is not the appropriate forum. In fact, the petitioners or the movie makers can go to the respective High Courts as well. Well, the movie has rigged up a political storm of sort as well. The BJP has come out in support of the movie and saying this is alternate cinema and a reality that many for their political interests and motives have not acknowledged in the country, and these uncomfortable realities and stories must be narrated. On the other hand, the argument is that this is some kind of a, quote-unquote propaganda which has been put out in the country, and it does not have any kind of reasonable or knowledgeable basis to make a piece of the cinema. Whether it's art or fiction, whether it's backed by any kind of evidence, facts, or this is merely a work of fiction, all of that has been debated of late. But when the Central Bureau of Film Certification decides to clear a movie, they look at various parameters, and the fact that it has been cleared, the filmmakers argue, it must be released. There are various parts of the country where the movie, from the commercial point of view, has done reasonably well. That's the word really coming in. The hearing right now is underway at the Supreme Court. Let's see if the court agrees to give any kind of relief. What is the last case that one can really look at when it comes to movies, ban and violence? Well, the last instance was Padmavat. You remember, Karni Sena was up in arms across the country. There were real instances of violence, arson that was seen. There were buses, school buses that were pelted with stones. There was a huge ruckus that was created by this particular social group or outfit across the country. And under those scenarios, there were multiple state governments that had banned this movie. Now, the Supreme Court, while hearing this matter, and this was the former Chief Justice of India, Justice Deepak Mishra, he had given out a scathing order, and he had said that it's the job of any elected government of the day to maintain law and order on the ground. If you're not able to do your job properly, that is not a ground for a piece of art or cinema to be banned. The Supreme Court stood firm as far as freedom of expression is concerned and said that merely because a fringe group dislikes it and has threatened the law and order situation across the country in different states, that cannot be the ground for a state, for an elected government to be threatened in this manner. And now if the similar argument is being used by West Bengal government, I'm sure the same parameters are being used, and that's pretty evident from the kind of observations that have come in from the Chief Justice of India, where he has said that prima facie reasonably one fails to understand why this movie has been banned. Let's see what the state of West Bengal has to say in their defense. Kamalika,